Hi, this is Bob, and for today's 10-minute tour, we're going to look at the General tab of the Company Settings screen. You'll find that under Common Tasks, File, Company Settings, General. And this is where some of the main systems or controls for your company exist. A lot of this would be set up when you first set up your file. These fields, most of them anyway, exist in, I forget what it's called, common settings or something like that in the database. So you can use those in reports, and there's really no conditions that run off of them, but they do feed to other things in the system as far as transferring, like I think your name from here will go on to your 1099s, that type of stuff. So let's get started on explanations. These are all pretty common. Fax number, we don't put ours on there. We could, I guess. Email address, that's going to be the main one for the company. If you've got, in my case it's coming to me, but in other companies it might go to the president of the company or whatever. Website address. This data folder description is a name you give it when you first set each company folder up, but you can change it. And what that does is it shows, let's see if I can get there real quickly. Nope, I can't. I'm going to cancel out of here real quick. If you go in to open up a company, you'll see in the list of companies this column here. So it helps you understand which field or which set of data folder you're working in. Their suggestion is to use live for your folder that you're really using all the time for day to day. We call ours active company. And we've got two different companies that we run through here, so I've got two different active companies, but it's just a descriptor that helps you understand what you're doing, where you're doing it with, I guess. So back into this folder, I'll explain some of the type, or the stuff towards the bottom. So this you can set up for accrual, cash, or both. The system warns and says whatever you set it up as originally, once you start making transactions, don't change this. Now it looks like I could, well, I'll test. Yeah, you can jump back and forth between them, but apparently it screws up the system. Doesn't quite understand what to do when you go from one to another. So it suggests, or strongly recommends, I guess, that once you establish whether you're going to do accrual accounting, cash accounting, or if you want both sets, you stop it there. You don't go back and change it down the road. Assign batch name. Now that's an interesting one that you can use in a company where you want more controls, or if you're more comfortable with a manual batching system, sort of like a lot of the old accounting systems used to use. You'd run a tape on all your invoices and then do a batch and make sure the batch total matched your tape total. You can do that here. Now I have mine set to automatic. We've used that for years and don't really run into many problems with it. But if you'd prefer to use it manually, when you check this, batch control totals pop up. And when you go into batch control totals, you can tell it what ones you want to batch. So you'd put a check mark in front of any of these modules that you want to do by batch. And so if you selected like accounts payable, when you go to do a bunch of invoices, it's going to ask you for a batch name, I think, and a batch total. Now your name might be today's date with a AP in the front of it or something. But your total is going to be that tape total that you'd run. And it won't let you post until your batch total and your total of invoices match. It does it for invoices, checks, accounts receivable bills, and cash receipts, checks, equipment entries, GL batches, and job cost batches. So you tell it which ones you want to do, and it will take it from there. I don't use those, so I'm going to switch it back to that. And that's really about all you need to know in here. The biggest thing to me, one thing I'll suggest, and it's not really to do with this screen, but if you noticed, I'll back out of here again. When we came in here, I have a whole mess of company data folders. So I do end of year ones for each one. One of the problems with Timberline that I've found anyway is if you don't do this type of a backup, if you need to go look at 2010's data for some reason and you've done a regular backup instead of a copy, you can restore it, but it's going to restore it in whatever version of software existed at that time. So it's going to try and say this was in version 4.0 or something. It's going to try and open that in 4.0, which won't work with your current data or software. So you'd have to actually go back in, reinstall that older version of software, and then upgrade and upgrade and upgrade till you get it to current version. Instead, by doing it this way, I can go in and I'll do data upgrades on these. Whenever there's a new version of the software that comes out, I go through and do data upgrades on all these folders. I'll set it to run on a weekend. And it's amazing the number of times that I have to jump back in and look at old data for somebody. They want to know who we bought, some style of chair from back in 2010. And if you don't do that, it's awful hard to go backwards in the software. So we've got a sister company, and they didn't do it that way and needed some information, and it's a bear to try and get to. So that's my suggestion on using this and giving them these names. And I'm going to tell you what, I got it done quick again, so we're only at about 7.5 minutes, but I'm not ready to click on to the next one and work farther, so let's call this an end to today's 10-minute tour, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye now.